We're recording now. So people start behaving.
That's too much to ask, Ian. Sorry.
It is. Oh, that's all right. We'll forgive you. No, we won't. Okay, screens.
Yeah, you've got the presenter view up there.
That might be a little bit better.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay, now we're going for time now. All right. Well, we'll make a start. Welcome everyone to the first of our seminars in the Internet of Things, number 6, the Capstone project. Hopefully a few more will be joining us shortly. First of all, a couple of points. These meetings will be recorded and posted on YouTube in case you miss any or you want to go through something again. So keep that in mind. This one's fairly straightforward. We just want to have a quick intro. You can meet some of the advisors, and we'd like to meet you guys as students and have a bit of a chat to you. In the future, we'll be running a short little seminar on some area of interest that at the moment we've got a series set, but we will alter that to suit where people are heading, what is interest. If you have any ideas that you would like covered, let us know and we can always build something into it. But it will be things that aren't actually in the course, things that are interesting, cutting edge, maybe some of our research that we're doing at the moment in this particular field. Okay, so we're going to try to be here for each one of the sessions, but unfortunately we do get called away. We have other duties as well in teaching and a bit more teaching. But we will try to attend every one that we can. If you want to contact someone or you've got a specific question, make a note of the area of expertise each of the advisors is in, and we'll go through and we'll do a quick intro in a sec. And when you send an email to us with your questions, it'd be appreciated if you put the person's name in the subject that you think may be best to handle a query. It'll speed things up. If they can't, they will find out who can, so we'll look at it. Also, don't be shy about resending emails if you don't get an answer in a day or two. We do, as I said, get a little bit busy and we can miss things. It's one of the worst things about email. You get an overload of it and it's really hard to track. So I'll introduce the advisors to begin with, starting with me. I'm Ian Murray. I'm Deputy Head of School of Electrical Engineering, Computing and Mathematical Sciences, or the school that doesn't fit anywhere else, as we like to call it. My area of expertise is in IoT, of course, sensor networks, general networking, assistive technology to help people with various disabilities, but mostly sensory disabilities, such as vision impairment and blindness, and embedded systems. So just going down the list, I'll ask Sebash to do a quick intro.
Hi everyone, my name is Siavash. I'm also a lecturer here at Curtin University. My area is the same as Ian. I do research in embedded systems, so anything to do with sensors, small modular design, and my personal research is in human movement. So tracking, for my PhD, I'm looking at tracking hand movement for children with cerebral palsy and using inertial measurement units to do that motion capture. So anything to do with small electronic and that low-level firmware coding, I'd be the guy to have a chat with.
Okay, thanks, Sebash. Yiffy.
Hi, I'm also a lecturer at Curtin University. I'm not as good as Professor Ian and Sawash in terms of the sensors and microcontroller, but I'm specialized in the wireless communication and the reinforced learning, and I have a fairly amount of the programming experience like C#, Java, or Python.
And you're now our industrial IoT expert.
Yes. Forgot to mention that.
Yeah. He's actually building a fairly large industrial IoT lab for us, including lots of PLCs and process control equipment, processing equipment, etc. So we can use that in our teaching. Right, Hannes, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Hannes. I'm from computing, although my background is in mathematical computational logic, so more mathematics. My areas are AI on the algorithm side more than the machine learning side, and logic. I also have somewhat of a background in databases, so if you want to talk about data storage as opposed to data science, then I'm a useful person to talk to. I'm not really a programmer as much, but if you talk about algorithm design or interesting problems or weird stuff like that, I'm definitely the person to talk to.
Yeah, he's being very modest here. If you've got an issue with any difficult problem you're trying to overcome and you're not sure how to do it in coding, Hannes is the guy to talk to about structuring a solution logically. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now two that couldn't come along tonight because of other teaching commitments. I'll give a brief outline of what they do, or some of what they do. Valerie is our data science and programming expert. She's a real guru in handling large data sets, which is really handy for IoT. Is her language of choice Python? Because I know that's what she teaches at the moment. Honest, you know? Yeah, I think so.
Well, she knows a fair bit about Python. She uses it. I don't know whether it's her favorite language or whatever.
Yeah, but the courses she teaches are in Python, and she uses that and RStudio for big data. So if you've got any direct programming issues, particularly when you're handling large amounts of data, Vel is the person to talk to. And finally, we have David McMeekin. David is a software engineer by trade, but his special area is geographic information systems, dealing with mapping, location, anything to do with building, internals of building, or finding your way around buildings or outside of buildings. So if your IoT solution would benefit from any location-based service or mapping, including the internals of building using building information management systems, David's the go-to guy. Okay, I think we've covered that. Here we go. All right, so just some ground rules. They're fairly straightforward. We'd like everyone to be polite and respectful of others. One of the things we do have, and it's a really good thing that we do have, is we generally have people from all over the world. And that means that some things could be a little bit more sensitive than you're used to. So just be aware that people are from different backgrounds, and we'd like to keep everything on a very professional level. In these seminars, if you would like to speak, and we would like you to speak, could you use the raise hand function in chat or enter your question in the chat panel, and then we can unmute you and listen to what your question is and have the discussion that's needed. It's also handy if you mute your microphone when you're not talking. That cuts down background noise, makes it easier for everyone to understand. And video is optional, but as I've said there, it's really nice to see who we're talking to. So if you don't have a problem running video, we would appreciate it if you put it on. And it helps us know who you are, what you like, a bit more personal. There's something else I was going to mention there. I'll remember it soon. All right, so Sebastian, if we could run through the students we have online, we'd like you to just briefly introduce yourself. Tell us where you are, because we actually don't have any idea except for the ones we've already asked. And if you can, what's your idea to put forward in the project? If you're not sure, now is a really good time to have a chat about what your interests are, what you do for a living, what sort of hobbies you have, and we can see if we can develop an idea for a project now to get you started. So Sebastian, could we run through Sebastian online?
Yes, of course. So I'll go from the top of the list. Anish, if you don't mind unmuting your mic and giving us a quick introduction, as Ian said, and telling us what you want to do in your project.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anish. I'm from India. I'm unfortunately at a place where I cannot share my video right now. So, but next time I'll be on my desk, so that will be a better for me. But I have a background in embedded systems. I, in fact, have a master's degree in embedded systems. And that's what I've been doing for most part of my life. Last 3 years, I've worked as an embedded engineer. But recently, I have moved to a post or a role where I have to look at the commercial aspects as well as the engineering aspects. So my aim from this, or what I want to get out of this course, is basically probably more of the business side. How can I take a product from board to the market? And the idea that I have in my mind is something related to a genuine problem that we have here in Delhi. That's where I am right now, is air pollution. So I'm looking at a self-powered nodes for monitoring the air quality at different places, say, for example, in cities or community setups or even businesses. And what I'm trying to do is I'll probably want a dashboard for it where we can see all the data coming from all these nodes in a single dashboard, therefore eliminating the need of manually noting down. That's what actually we do right now in Delhi. At a lot of places, there are nodes where the data is being collected, but that is noted down manually. So I would like to make that process in a way automated or a bit more easier and intuitive.
Yeah, that's a really good project. I read something of that on the you're a little bit on the discussion boards on that. You know, I'm familiar with the air pollution problems in India. My wife is Indian, and from Bangalore actually. And you do have some interesting measurement equipment installed in Delhi. So they're still writing everything down from the readings manually?
At a lot of places, I would say, a lot of places, they still write it down. A lot of places is automated, but I would say around 70% is still manually, they note it down.
Right. And that's not overly reliable at times.
Exactly.
This actually brings up a really good point about the course. One of the nice things that we have here is you can meet other people who have a different skill set to you. So in your case, Anish, you've certainly got embedded system skills, but you're saying you want to learn more about the business. I can say that chances are we will have several people who are not technical, and they will be very interested in using your technical ability to help them, and they will be able to return the favour and give you some hints and understanding of the business aspects. We will be talking about going from prototype to production, PCBs and tools to use for that in one of the sessions that we've got planned. But you do raise a good point. I might ask my associate to come and give a bit of a talk as well. He runs a unit on new product development for us in our master's program. And he's a professional, not entrepreneur, but a facilitator for the entrepreneurs. So he helps startups and he helps them get established. He gets their business plans done and works through the issues of actually getting an idea to market. So I think we might invite him along at a later stage when we're more towards that point. Excuse me. Savash, just keep reminding me and I'll get either Andrew Bell or Nick Jarrett to come in and give a bit of a spiel on that process. Thanks for that, Anish.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Jo Chen, do you want to go next, please?
Yes, I guess that's me. I'm Jochen Hansen from Belgium, and let's say my background, it's more IT, data engineering.
Jochen, you're very quiet.
Yes, I will try to. Let's say, is this better? Is it better like now?
Yeah, better. Thanks.
I will fix this the next time. I'm let's say on the speakerphone of my laptop instead on my headset. I will try to fix it for next time. But let's say issues of the first time. Jochen Hansen, coming from Belgium, in fact, and let's say I did once let's say engineering skills at university, and I'm now working in IT. Meaning, let's say everything which is related to, I'm an IT architect, meaning I do have some IoT projects, more as an architect. And they are always situated for me in the, let's say, smart building things. It's, let's say, metering, metering electricity, gas, everything, and try to preserve, in fact, or not consuming energy. When you, let's say, for example, even in Belgium, sometimes they do cooling, airco, and heating at the same time in big buildings, and to avoid these kind of things. And if I do a project or jump on one of these, or it should be in reducing energy, improving sustainability, house or let's say bigger buildings, something like this, in fact. And my background is definitely, let's say, IT. And if I can mention some brands, in fact, mostly I'm working in the Microsoft Azure environment, let's say it like this. And the last, the IoT part, but more, let's say, the real IT part. I heard already dashboarding, monitoring, but also, let's say, the complete architecture of everything which is in IT.
It's an interest. It's a growth field, the smart building and building management area. You might want to work a little bit with a niche on air quality too, because internal air quality is a critical issue where, you know, think of the sick building syndrome that's about. And you can probably use some of the same technologies that Anisha's talking about. I'm just trying to recall where we get our exchange students from. Savash in Belgium. Which university was it again?
The University of Ghent. It's
I think so, yeah.
University of Ghent, in fact. That's my university.
Yeah, before COVID, we used to have at least one, quite often 2 and 3 students come over from Belgium to study with us, and they do their project at Curtin, Australia. But good students. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so going down the list, Mike, would you mind going next?
My name is Mike Jäger. I'm based in Zurich. I have a little bit of different background. I have done a bachelor in telecommunication and informatics, but it's already 20 years ago. So there is limited. I can read code, but I can also program a little bit, but not that in detail. So since my 20 years job experience, I have started a lot with OSS, operating support system, which is a mixture between processes and technology mixture. And then since the last 5 to 7 years, I heavily focused on cybersecurity. I have done it in the telecommunication space, in 4 or 5G, and a lot of carriers around Europe and EMEA. And since the last 2 years, I've moved more closer to the enterprise domain, also in the sense of consultancy, so where I was responsible in the last in 2020 for emerging technologies. That's also the reason why I'm trying to get a little bit catching up more knowledge about all the different kind of technologies like cloud, like data science, and like IoT. That's also the reason why I'm have joined this program. And yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm working as principal consultant for cybersecurity field, and yeah, that's mainly my focus. There is for the project, or for the Capstone project, I have I mean, there is a business-driven idea, but I'm will focusing in the next half year is more on how to protect, or let me say, how to indicate threats on IoT infrastructures for cyber insurance related reasons, but based on intellectual property issues or things. I'm not completely sure if I should take it or if I should focusing on this one, because it's not directly related to building up sensors. It's more to catching environmental information. For this reason, I have an alternative, or a private alternative. I have at the moment installed a lot of this Philips Hues in my smart home, and my question is if there will be some kind of presence detection which might help to intelligently or smartly control the smart home environment. For example, if I have some presence detection for rooms, if I know who is in there or at which time people are in there, and maybe I can also recognize some pattern of audio, so I can, for example, recognize if they are watching TV. So I can, combined with the data science capability in the cloud, I will be able to control the actors like light, like heating, like other things in a more intelligent way to save power, to make the environment more comfortable for the people who are living in. Can also give options to them via the smartphone. For example, these are patterns we recognize. For example, in the living room, you stay always at the evening at 8 to 10 and watching TV, what kind of light environment you like to have during this time. So I can configuring it, and the sensor then will detect once I'm present and switch to the according environment. Or maybe he will also find, or based on listening, he will also detect if I may be cooking based on the noise it creates, and he can switch the lighting conditions and the surrounding environment to perfectly fit in such kind of conditions. So this is the alternative idea I have in mind based on my more business-centric focus. I would keep the project a little bit more on business level with a touch on the technology side, if that would be okay for you.
Yeah, no, that'd be fine. In fact, we've tried to make the course suitable for both the business approach and the technical approach and various ranges in between. Both of those projects are really good, and the smart housing one leads to lots of other application and things you can build in. For instance, if you use machine learning to work out people's habits, you can turn the air conditioning on when you expect them to take it, turn kettles on at the normal waking hour, change the lighting beforehand to remind people it's time to cook. But that's nice for fully able-bodied people. Imagine how this could help someone, say, with dementia or Alzheimer's. So you could have alerts in the house that have been alert behaviours to remind someone who's got a fading memory, like me, that it's now time to cook dinner, it's now time to take your pills. You normally watch the news at 6 o'clock, so turn the TV on for them. Or something to be very, very useful and nice sort of project. But I wouldn't discount the security one either. Yiffy might want to chip in a sec on this, but he's just done a project with one of our very large mining companies, and Western Australia is basically a mining state, in how they can securely get their operational technology, telemetry, monitoring all their process equipment, out to the cloud. And that's not a solved problem. That's still a big issue for most process people. They haven't really considered the security, and that's still a really good project. So I wouldn't say don't do that one because of intellectual property issues, because there is enough scope to work in the open field to look at that security aspects, particularly when you're dealing with sensor data. Because if you look at most industrial and home sensors, nobody gave any thought to the security offer, and they're wide open.
For me, it's just the security one is not that precisely nailed down. Yeah, I mean, it's more an open environment where I have to see where I move on. Yeah, I mean, on the smart home one, I have a specific target I can shoot on. Yeah, and that makes it a little bit more precise in a sense of a capstone project. And the security one might move in some kind of direction, and it's a more open framework. It's a little bit also up to you. How do you like to rate such kind of things? Yeah, I mean, if there is no issue, if the red line may move left and right and up and down, for my professional career, of course, it would be more beneficial to mix it up with the security scope. The other one is more a kind of exercising the capstone. Yeah.
Well, you could combine it, because the privacy issues in controlling someone's home, particularly if they're elderly and vulnerable, the privacy issues in ensuring that the home automation is secure would be an area that you could spend a bit of time on as well. And even if it's only recommendations on how you would do things.
But then it's more a kind of bringing in an additional security flavor to the more target focus, I think. This is what you mean.
Yeah. But the choice is yours. We're just here to help.
No, this makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this is where I have my background in and where I can contribute most. As such, it's definitively beneficial, I think.
Okay, well, as I said, the choice is yours, but I can see there's potential in both of those. Ify, did you want to mention anything on your security issue, or we move on?
Actually, if for the home applications, because all those sensors usually has like computer science side standard interface, it's actually easier to do compared to we do with the industrial environment, because they are using industrial standard, especially sometimes using frequency modulated signal. The microcontroller can't read them. But if the normal small sensor for home location, those sensor usually has I2C or UART. It's perfect for the one of the product from the Microsoft called the Azure Sphere. It's a secured edge device which can pass on the data all the way to the Azure platform. So it's actually easier, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay. Sebastian, who would be next?
Okay, and of course, last but not least, Nuncio, do you want to go ahead, please?
Hello, my name is Nuncio Polito. I'm living in France, but I'm Italian. I'm mechanical engineer, PhD, and I work as performance engineer in General Electric company. I'm in charge to do the performance test of the entire power plants. So I work a lot with instrumentation, calculations, programming, and data analysis, evaluations, and root cause analysis, and so on. The motivation to take this IoT master was to enlarge the competence and the skill on this area of the IoT and the, let's say, the applicability of the new technology of is coming from digital. We call this in the industry at the moment. And for example, in the company I work with the two projects for the deployment of a digital system to improve the efficiency of the power plant. In this case, we are talking about coal power plant. And these tools are to optimize the combustion of the boiler, for example, to make some online data acquisition and make some evaluation of the model, let's say in digital twin way, and make the diagnostic and make some advisory to the operator in order to improve the operation of the plant and then improve the performance of the power plant. So this is, I would say, my background, and yes, I have many ideas for the project. I post one in the site was about the water harvesting, rainwater harvesting to collect the rainwater and then collect this and treat the water, centralize the treatment because it will be less expensive, and then redistribute this clean water to the house. I would say the principle should be the same, more or less the same of the solar panel. If we have a solar panel and we distribute the energy to the neighborhood, that more or less the same principle, but we collected water from the rain. That was an idea I had, personal idea, but I have another idea which is more applicable in the industry, and we are facing also many problems in this project I was telling you for digital. Is one of the big problem we have is the data. We need to clean the data, filtering the data, maybe clean the data prior to make any type of evaluation, because we are doing this diagnostic online and in normal operation conditions, and the power plant during normal operation condition we can be frequency response control, and most of the time we can have many noise, let's say noise or variation of the signals, the entire signal. We are talking about more than 100 instrument, pressure, temperature, flow sensor. So sometimes it's difficult to determine to make the diagnostic and determine the improvement of the power plant. So my idea was about how we can filter, how we can improve the data quality of the entire power plant in order to be easy to evaluate. So practically I have these two ideas. I start to talk about with the rainwater because it's something I saw very practical, very easy to realize. And the other one I don't know because it's only data cleaning and data filtering. It's not covering maybe all the part of the IoT.
Both very interesting projects. The water one is particularly useful, I think, in developing countries. And there's a few things you can do. We've done this with renewable power generation through local suburbs. And that is, you get a village who is collecting rainwater, and they all have different usages, and they'll put more or less effort into the collection. You could save expense by, as you said, centrally treating the water and then redistributing back out based on how much they've captured. But people have different requirements at different times. So you could adjust the amount of water people can access based on future generation or future collection that person has, and you lend them more water. So people can get into credit, people can get into debt with the water and share it that way. The IoT part comes in predicting that usage. So you track how much usage and how much collection each house has over a season, tie in the local weather database for predicted rainfalls, and work out whether people are going to have enough water or they're going to end up in a deficit overall, if there's going to be a deficit, by sensing how much they're using, how much they're collecting, and tracking that as an accounting system. But as I said, predicting what the usage is going to be. And that is a true IoT system. The power generation may be a little complex for a fairly short-term project, but is certainly an area we're doing a bit of work in this area where our power guys are. And that's in the monitoring, the generation, resynchronization of renewable energy into the traditionally generated power, and starting up the generators based on predicted usage that's sensed through the network. So that's certainly something that could be done, probably more of a simulation than a physical implementation, but again, completely valid as a project.
Yeah, you are right. The power plant application is more complex. I think I will need to spend more than 1 year to complete an entire project for power plant because it's very complex. But I'm very motivated with the water project, rainwater project, because it's, as you say, there are many parts of the predicting, and the redistribution of the water can be optimized according we let's say also machine learning implementation in order to see who needs more water than other. Also, I was thinking maybe part of the raw water or the rainwater we collect each house. Maybe if we don't need to treat just for use for the agriculture, we can redistribute this to the user that need raw water and not treat water. And the motivation of also this project is coming also for my neighborhood, because my neighbor, they collect the water, and most of the time because here in France, in this part, we are closer to the Switzerland and close to Basel, not too far. Here we have in the winter we have a lot of rain, and sometimes in summer we have the last year we have a very dry season. And my neighbor, they have to throw the water because the collector was completely full, and they cannot store this during the winter because it's freezing, and they get freeze and broken the collector. So they have to throw away all the water. I say, why we don't storage all in a single tank, maybe a big one, but and the contribution, everybody from the neighborhood can contribute for financing this project as well.
It's a very sound idea. I quite like that. Manish might know this as well, but where my family's from in India, they only got water for a couple of hours a day. So even in a very developed city and a reasonably wealthy area, water was still a problem. So there's a huge demand for water resources, managing water resources. In Australia, we've got a dire shortage of water. We quite often have restrictions where you can't water your garden through summer because there's just not enough water. So there's a huge market for something like that, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is a kind of project that can be applicable for the development countries, and developed country as well is applicable for each type of country, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, Sebastian, that's everyone?
Yes, and I was just going to mention, even though the scope is a bit big, but if the requirements for the power system can be part, like figuring out what the requirements would be, what sort of, how much power you would need to generate, and getting those sort of specification down would fit very nicely within the context of the capstone. And one more thing I was going to add, as we have people from different backgrounds and from business, from engineering, from mechatronics, and different types of backgrounds here, that's completely okay. You can, when you're doing the project, if you don't have the technical background, it can be just you doing the research and investigating and coming up with the requirements and specifications and the design of your project, or even the business case for implementing the idea. On the other end, if you're interested more in the low-level engineering implementation of the IoT idea, you have that option as well. So you kind of can go both sides, and we like to encourage you guys to collaborate with each other. So ideally, if you have a project then where it has the business case and the technical part together, so that would be the best of both worlds.
Good points. One thing I will raise as well, if there is a case of some need of control of intellectual property, we've had this on several occasions through the past iterations of the course. We can handle everything external as a personal communication with a non-disclosure if that's required. And the other students need know nothing about what you're actually up to. So we can keep things commercially in confidence if need be. It's a little bit more difficult to do, but we're quite happy to do that anyway. So if you do have something where you want to keep the intellectual property nice and quiet, let us know and we'll work out a method of doing so. Okay, just to run through the purpose of these meetings, what we don't want to see is us talking at you for an hour. That we could do with a recording. It doesn't really achieve a great deal. We really want to have these as a discussion to raise points of interest, and it can be anything that you would like to know about, to do with IoT, of course. If we don't know, because of course we, like everyone else, don't know everything, it's then our job to go and find out for you, and we can let you know the next time. So we really do want this to be a discussion. It's a good way to meet the other people in the course, and you can form teams. We have no problem with people working together, as long as you acknowledge that you're working together and you state which parts of the submissions are your work and which parts aren't your work. That's completely acceptable. Because that's how the real world works. Nobody builds anything on their own. You do rely on other people's knowledge. So with the idea, you've got some really good ones that you've mentioned already. Don't restrict yourself. Be really ambitious when you're specifying it. The idea is that we get a proof of concept for what you would think would be in market at the end of a real production cycle. It's to learn the process of going from an idea through to a business plan or prototype or both. So be as creative as you like. Aim for the stars. It really is good to aim far out from what you would expect to get, but acknowledge that, you know, this is the idea and this is how we're going to get there. And that's really what the course is about, the process of how you're going to get your product to market. Also a good idea, if you could make a list of questions as they come up, either put them in the discussion board if you think it's something that either the teammates can answer, or when we get onto the discussion boards we can answer, but we won't be doing that every day, so it might be a little bit slower for us to get an answer to you that way. But make a list of questions, things to raise, things you'd like to know when we have these gatherings, because that's really what it's about. It's a discussion. What else do we need to say? Yep, I've been through all that. Okay, that's all we really had for tonight. As I said, next fortnight we'll have a little presentation on a subject of interest first, but we would like this to be more a discussion from your side, for you to ask questions, for us to be able to try and answer them, and if not, get back to you on the answer, and make this a true interaction of people with the same aims. We want people to know more about the process of developing an IoT solution. So that's really all from me. Has anyone got any questions or anything they'd like to say?
I've just
Yep, go ahead.
I have just one question. So, I mean, it's an exception, but next time I will not be able to join because I have already scheduled another meeting, which I can't move. Is that, how is it with the presence? I mean, usually, of course, I try to be there, but is this an issue? Should I try to join the other session? But this would be at 2 o'clock in the night. So this is a little bit possible, but not necessarily nice.
You're welcome to join the other session or join both. We don't have the numbers in the morning because there weren't too many in the morning. We may cancel that anyway and only have the evening sessions. However, as I mentioned, these are recorded. They'll be posted up on YouTube as soon as I can get a chance, probably some stage tomorrow, so you can listen to them. But if you've got any questions that arise other times, email us on the IoT Capstone email address, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. If we don't, within 2 days, send us another email to remind us.
Okay, then I will work mainly with emails and questions because I'm not able to join the next time. Later on, it should be possible. Now it's scheduled on my agenda.
Yeah, it's no problem. This is these sessions are to help us get to know you, help with any questions that come up, make it a little bit more interesting than the standard MOOC where you don't end up speaking to anyone. Yeah, and just to help you out. So no, you don't have to come at all, but yeah, it'd be nice if you did. And you've got the recording, which is never as good as the real thing. So
yeah, especially because it's an interactive way, and then to ask questions and so on.
Yeah, yeah, and normally in discussions, people come up with questions from the discussion, and that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the email address, I've posted it again in the chat, so you can check it out. And I actually have a question for you guys. I sent an email this morning. I was just wondering if you received that announcement about the seminars going live. Did you receive an email from edX at all? No? Yes? Did you receive anything, Mike?
The reminder email you mentioned, or?
Yeah, I sent an email this morning because they've just updated the backend. I just wanted to see if you guys got that.
I got a reminder email that for this call and
Okay.
the Teams, but that's all I have seen. I'm not sure if someone else have seen something else.
Okay, I'll double check. Oh, thanks for letting me know.
Okay then. Well, if there's no other question, we're still here for a bit. If you do, we'll say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever, and I'll stop the recording.
Okay.
Trying to stop the recording if I can.